Hello, everybody. Welcome back to 15 Good Minutes. It's your guy, Coach B. I'm here with half of the 18. JR, how you doing, buddy?
Doing great, man. Just hanging in there.
Right. Shout out to Freddie. He's still out on the first anniversary
Yes, sir.
trip,
First anniversary Cabo trip.
Cabo. And it's funny because if you guys watched the show last week, he seemed pretty nonchalant about it. But then the first day he get there, he texted me and JR about, oh, Cabo is lit. Oh, we do, all these things they're doing. So he might be trying to front for y'all in the audience,
What do you say?
but
What do you say? Late night skinny dip.
late night skinny dip and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think he's just trying to be Joe Cool instead of Joe Reality. So glad you guys are here. It is Friday. Is the first day of the World Series, man. The 2022 World Series is here. And if you think about it, JR, I mean, when the three of us started getting together, it was right before spring training, and now here we are. Boom. Last weekend of October, going into November, the Fall Classic is on us. So we're gonna keep the show focused on the World Series today. And before we get to the actual series itself, do you have any thoughts on the overall, the playoff flow for this year? What do you think about the way the playoffs went down this year?
I really kind of like it, and I think the new format kind of made it more interesting in a way. I know we talked about it before, and I said no, it should be one and done. Nah, I think it was great that you see teams picking out the top dogs, and you don't give them. There's no chance to breathe. You either play or you're gone. And so I think that was more exciting this year.
I remember your point when playoffs first started, right? And I like it. I liked it, I should say. But like I said, even when we did the playoff episode, I don't know if this format would have worked when the Nationals won. We had a tough one. We got by Milwaukee and only had to play them one time when we moved on. But adding the two extra teams, I think it was this year, and making and I've always admired this about the Major League Baseball anyway. You got a best of 3 series, a best of 5 series. Then when you get to the AL, NLCS, best of 7, and now the World Series, as opposed to the NBA, that everything is the best of 7. Everybody and their brother is in the playoffs, and it goes on forever. I like the format. I guess the one thing I would change though is I don't understand how we can play one way in the regular season and then go another way. You got to play the way you play. Yeah. And I'm not a big fan of putting a guy on second base.
And that's the other thing too, even with that ghost runner, it takes away the possibility of you seeing 2 games in one night and one team runs out of pitchers. And you know what I'm saying? That excitement you don't have anymore.
So in terms of the way that the format went, I was really, really happy with that. So the 2 teams that are in the World Series this year, Philadelphia Phillies and the Houston Astros. So let's talk a little bit, Jerry, about how each one got here. What are your thoughts about how Philly got here and who they had to go through to get there?
I think it's phenomenal, man. I really do. Those guys beat San Diego. You know what I'm saying? And they would have been the talk of the town. They got Soto. They got my man. I know Tatis. He did his thing, so he wasn't there. So you can't blame nobody but him. But I think that they just gutted. They gutted the teams out. Bryce was just doing his thing, and it was not just him. It was fielding and
I think Reese was playing really well for them as well.
Yeah.
Guys just get hot at the right time. And here's the other thing you can't overlook. They got San Diego, but they took down the world champion Atlanta Braves.
Yep.
Right. So one thing that Philadelphia had to do that Houston did not, Philadelphia was a wild card team. Philadelphia got in like on the last day of the season or next to it. They were neck and neck with Milwaukee, and it got down to it. And I think it was a difference of a game or a game and a half. But the week prior to the playoffs, it could have just as easily been the Brewers, right?
Yeah.
So Philadelphia had to jump in and play the emotional favorite St. Louis Cardinals, where everybody was pulling for them for good reasons. We all, America loves those guys, Molina and
Albert.
Pujol. But they beat them, and then immediately you go to Atlanta, and everybody's like, okay, Philly, this is when your run is over. And they beat Atlanta, I want to say, 3-1.
Yeah.
3-1, which is impressive. And then to your point, they beat San Diego 4-1. So I think that's impressive. I think and I'll come back to this a little bit, but I think one of the reasons that Philadelphia is playing so well is they haven't had a chance to stop and think. And I'm a big fan of that.
Well, I think that like we said a couple of weeks ago or last week it was, the second season is a totally different animal.
Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth?
Yep.
Without a doubt. Now you look at your ALCS representative, the Houston Astros. What do you think about their playoff run and what they had to do to get here?
All they had to do was play ball. It's a well-balanced team. They win on the road and at home.
One of the advantages they have for playing so well, to your point, all year long, is they did not have to do a playoff round. The thing opening round in the playoffs. But what's impressive to me about Houston, and trust me, as a Yankees fan, it's hard for me to be, open and honest about Houston. I still feel some kind of way about 2017, but we're going to talk about that today.
Yeah. We're going to feel that way, Faber.
But what impresses me about them, JR, is they didn't lose a game, man.
No.
So they blanked Seattle, right? 3-0, and then they turn around and blanked the Yankees 4-0. Cool. That to me, and this will kind of lead into what you was talking about a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about, what happened to all the big names that was supposed to be there, most notably the Dodgers. So if you look at the Dodgers were the best in baseball and the best in the National League. Houston was right there with them. But what Houston did that the Dodgers didn't is they just kept it going. And the Dodgers, they did not. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on, and I'll throw all of them out there. Dodgers, Atlanta Braves, New York Mets, New York Yankees. I think those are 4 teams that everybody kind of, at least one of them or a couple of them would be in. What are your thoughts about the big dogs not making it this year?
I mean, it's terrible because these guys were the big dogs, but in a way it's great because a lot of small market teams, they're saying we can beat Goliath. You know what I'm saying? All we got to do is play good ball.
I think it goes back to what you said about the second season. I've always felt this way.
Yep.
I tell people about it all the time. You go back to 2019 when the Nationals won, struggling to get in, caught fire for the right 2.5 weeks, came away with a championship ring. You can't hang your hat on the regular season, man.
It's not the best team. It's the team that's playing the best.
That's a big point, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not just saying this because I'm a Yankees fan, but the 2 teams that I'm most surprised did not make it were both National League teams for me. I thought Atlanta was a shoo-in to at least get to that last game. I actually thought it would be Atlanta versus the Dodgers, right? Who I thought were the 2 best teams in the National. Mets were doing really well, coming up. They were kind of in and out, hanging neck and neck, but those 2 Goliaths didn't make it. That, I think, really speaks to just how well Philadelphia is playing at that time. I mean, they took out a really good Atlanta Braves team, and so now you're here and you have the two teams that are here. What are you looking for in the World Series?
I'm looking for, I think it's going to be a good World Series. I'm looking for, good ball play. I think both teams play small ball, but I think Houston does it like experts.
I would give both of them a real good nod in that regard because I remember in the NLCS, every time San Diego went ahead, I said, okay, they're good. And I'll be damned if Philly ain't come back and get a hit and get a hit and get a hit, put a guy on base and then get there. So that's, in terms of what I'm looking for, I'm looking to see if those 2 can keep that type of base. I'm a bigger fan of that type of baseball than just home runs anyway.
Home runs, yeah.
I'm curious to see if the wild card team stays hot. In this case, it's Philadelphia, right? And with Houston, I'm curious to see if the others continue to do stuff. You got main guys on Houston that were struggling.
They're struggling.
And the others, though, the others were just, I call them the others, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but, they're stars. They're guys that aren't stars really shine.
And that's what the point I was going to make is Houston's got people that will pick people up.
I expect a good series. I think you will see a good series, to your point. I don't think Houston sweeps anybody at this point because Philadelphia is just too hot. Any thoughts on the format? It says here that it's a 2-3-2, right? So all the games are at 8 p.m. Starting today on Friday, Saturday, 8 o'clock in Houston. Sunday's off. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are all in Philadelphia. off Thursday, and then if it needs to, Friday and Saturday of next week, we'll be back in Houston. So you fan of the 2-3-2, or you like the 2-2-1-1-1?
I'm just saying, if Houston wins 2 at home and then goes to Philly and wins at least once, they're coming back home, or just win right out, and that's another sweep.
Or if Philly wins 1 in Houston, they got 3 games coming up at home.
Yeah.
Game 1, from what I've got off the wire today, it's going to have Verlander starting for Houston and Nola starting for Philadelphia.
You know, Verlander, man, the dude, I mean, if he's pitching like he was pitching the other night.
One of the general consensus is that he's a shoo-in for the Cy Young Award this year, which at his age, I think is a hell of an accomplishment.
And, you know,
he's never won a World Series game, though. I'm going to throw out 4 names. I just want you to tell me your reaction to these names, right? NLCS MVP, Bryce Harper.
I think he's a good player.
He got a serious injury midseason and came back from it to the point where right now he still can't play in the outfield. He can only DH. I think that he's the heart and soul of that team. ALCS MVP, Jordan Alvarez.
I haven't seen too much of him this year. But I mean, you know, if they chose him, he must have played well.
I watched every game, from all the series, and that young fella, he gets it. He plays really hard, and to your point about picking people up, like I say, they had people that were just struggling, which happens in baseball. You play it long enough, no matter what you do, you're going to have some hot streaks and some cold streaks. But for those guys to not drop a game, and his hitting, his fielding was really good, but I thought his hitting was super timely. So, you know, congrats to him. Dusty Baker, your thoughts on Dusty?
I'd love to see him win one. A great character, you know, as far as the game is concerned. He's always got some snappy antidote or something. And it's funny as heck, you know, in a silent kind of way. But
interesting that Dusty was Bryce Harper's manager, right? And now Dusty's, you know, on the ALCS winning Houston team.
Yeah.
And his old player Bryce is on the NLCS team. So I'm a big fan of Dusty as well. When I think there's a handful of people, man, that I would consider baseball guys, and he's at the top of that list. Last name I got for you, Jose Altuve.
You know, 2017, bro. but he is a great player, a great fielder.
I used to be a big fan of his, but after 17, and I'm going to get over it, you know.
Yeah.
I just haven't yet, but I think he plays really hard. I think he's an awesome leadoff guy. His teammates really like him. And to your point, he's a vacuum out there, but if I'm Philadelphia, I'm worried only because that dude don't stay cold very long.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He was cold throughout that whole series. So if he starts heating up, I looked at the rosters for both teams today.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the first time since 1950 that there'll be no U.S.-born black players on either roster.
We've got a lot of great ball players in different neighborhoods, but for some reason, everybody migrates to football and basketball.
The fact that there's no U.S.-born players, no U.S.-born black players on either roster, it just tells me that we as a people aren't prioritizing baseball as an option. There are a high number of scholarships for baseball that go unfulfilled every year in college. I could easily tell you the number of parents that I know that have their kids in 5-star, this basketball clinic, this basketball camp.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone who's playing Little League baseball right now. It's not an attractive stat to say for the first time since 1950.
Yeah.
No U.S.-born black players. I mean, you know, I think we can do better.
Definitely.
So that's kind of wrapping it up. Before we get to the question of the week, I'm going to put you on the spot, JR. You know, who wins this year's World Series and why?
I'm going to go out on this limb, but I believe Philly will win the series.
Why do you think that's a limb?
No, only because Houston's got all the boxes checked. They really do.
I think I'm going to go with you. I think Philadelphia wins because I think they're hot. While I would like to see Dusty get one. I have to pull for Philly for a whole number of reasons, but that's gonna be my choice.
Man, you gotta let that go, bro.
I will. I'm going to. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress. But our question of the week to our audience is real simple. Who do you like in the World Series this year? Tell us who you think is going to win. Will it be the Houston Astros or will it be the Philadelphia Phillies? You can let us know at Twitter/15 Good Minutes or right here on YouTube.com/15 Good Minutes. We're looking forward to a really good World Series, but we're also looking forward to seeing what you guys think if you're a baseball fan in terms of who's going to win. JR, that's all we got time for today, man. You got anything
Yes,
before we
sir.
break?
No, I'm getting ready to get ready to get out of here. Go find some things at the store and try to get home quickly.
World Series 2022. We'll see you next week. Take care.